Miller. Today, we are broadcasting live, or not really live. We are broadcasting from beautiful Monaca, Pennsylvania. We have author Clinton J. Kurtyka with us at his karate school. So, hello.
Hey, thanks for letting me be on your podcast. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about you and the school here, and it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off real quick. We're actually being interviewed by you in the actual dojo. One Strike Karate, Brendo Shotokan, One Strike. Actually in Monaca, and in the book, this dojo is one of the biggest fight scenes, or what you want to read in a book, between the Hive Queen, which is a terrible villain in my book, and the man called Clint, who's the hero. Okay. So this is actually the actual place where it took place. It's kind of neat, you know.
And in real life, you are the instructor here, and you have classes, and people can come and train martial arts.
1299 Pennsylvania Avenue, Monaca, PA. We have classes. We're open 3 days a week. We're on the just look us up, One Strike Karate. You'll find us. We're there.
And we'll have up on top here. We'll have the link of how to contact Master Clint if you so wish. May I call you Clint? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Where you can contact the sensei, and if you live in the area, encourage you to try it out. So, good. So tell me a little bit. This is a wonderful book. I read it like maybe 4 times. I love it.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and show the cover
This is the book you want to buy. It's on Amazon.com, and it's actually for sale at the Little Green Bookstore in Zelienople, Pennsylvania. Okay. So if you're a local or you're around here, you could go down to the bookshop. A lady by the name of Chris, great shop, knows a lot about books, and she has a great variety of other books too that you could look at.
Yes, if you are local in the North Pittsburgh area, Cranberry, Zelienople, please help support local bookstores. They need it. So up on top here, we're going to put a couple links. You'll see them coming up. There'll be the Dead Adrenaline link where to buy it on Amazon. Put the bookstore address and everything too. You'll see them coming up and sticking up on the top. Great. So tell me a little bit. What is the book's genre? What? Tell me a little bit about like the genre of this book.
Okay, so you hear Dead Adrenaline as the title. Like, what is this? Some people automatically go to, oh, it's zombies, maybe. Some people go, oh, I don't know, maybe it's science fiction. Some people go, well, maybe it's action adventure. Maybe it's a fantasy type book. Well, honestly, it's all those genres. The biggest part of the book, though, is the science fiction horror part of it. So you have anywhere from The Walking Dead. When you're reading it, you're like, man, this has the feel of The Walking Dead. You're thinking, oh, I want to read more of this. But just when you think, okay, there's enough people getting eaten up and blood and guts and a lot of carnage and, characters that you might grow to like disappear, you think, oh, okay, boom. It goes into a science fiction end where it takes you totally on the cliff and you're hanging there wondering what's going to happen next. So, I say on the back of my book, zombies don't always come from the grave. Well, in this case, it's 100% true. I mean, what I'm saying is, you think it's a zombie, but then you find out maybe it's not just a zombie, It
really is good. So, yes, so it's a mixture of genres. So, really, if you're a fan of any of those, this is a book for you. Tell me a little bit about the setting. Is it modern day? Is it in the future? Is it current day America? Tell me a little bit about the setting.
Okay, so there's 2 years involved in this book. The year 2026. It basically unfolds. I'll talk about the first year first. It basically unfolds year 2026 in the year 2024, just like coming up. That's the year we're in now, actually. This November, there's going to be an election. Well, election takes place in 2024. A particular leader gets elected, and they have all this time because they were previously already president. So they have a total of 6 years to change some of the dynamics of America. And, for instance, in this book, nobody is allowed to have firearms. It's actually illegal. They actually had the military get involved and take everybody's firearms. Obviously, there was different fights and different things. That's another book, obviously, about the Second Amendment rights. But that actually occurs in my book. So think about that. A land or a world without an actual firearm of any sort. So what does that leave? Weapons of choice. What does that leave? Ability to fight with your hands, with your feet, and then you mix in zombies, possibly aliens, mixed in there, then you have a big problem. So in the year 2026, there's a hero in it called the man called Clint. And what happens is he wakes up one morning, just like everybody does, and he's on his way to work. Just so happens he's a peacekeeper for the time of year 2026. Him as a law enforcement officer, he isn't even allowed to hold a weapon or carry a weapon. They have what they call like a actual, almost like a ray gun that freezes up a person's mobility. You know, doesn't always work, but that's what they have issued to them when they start their shift. So he's on his way in, and the world starts to crumble before him. He starts seeing odd things occur. He starts seeing humans that aren't quite human. Maybe they're alive, maybe they're dead. And his journey begins, and that's why it's one man's journey to survive Beaver County, PA. He has to survive and navigate through this world that's crumbling and find out what is causing this, because he's almost a loner in this whole fight to save Beaver County.
So, good. That's a really good explanation. So, while there is some, like, you know, you could talk about, oh, it's a, you know, there's political things in here, but really you're setting things up to put the hero, the man called Clint, into a situation where he can't just pull a gun and shoot the zombies.
Yes.
Right? He's got to rely on other methods. Right. And so that's really fascinating.
I'll just go and say this. This book is for the far right, the far left, okay. You know, or the middle.
It's not a political book at all.
It doesn't matter.
But it sets things up in a certain way so that he's able to utilize his skills hand to hand, other type of martial art weapons and
weapons of choice.
Weapons of choice. Good. Now, we did mention that the location you said was part of the school here. So you're utilizing this area, Monaca. Is there other places?
Yeah, I'm utilizing businesses. You know, and I got numerous businesses for this first book that signed on. You know, they signed off to say, hey, you can use my logo. You could, you know, you could talk about businesses in the book. You know, generally you should talk, you know, in a good light. But I went and took a step further for certain businesses because I wanted their logo. I wanted their actual, you know, their building and their logo in the book. So there's numerous businesses. For instance, Rosalind's Candy Castle, which is actually a castle now. I mean, there's major remodeling now. It looks like a castle. I kind of wish it was like that when I got permission to use it before they did the remodeling. I have the original old sign photo in this book. So that's kind of nostalgia now because now it's left in the book, you know, on the pages. And I don't know if they're ever going to put that sign back up or have it anywhere else, but it's in the book. So we have Rosalind's Candy Castle. Right in Monaca here, across the Rochester-Monaca Bridge, there used to be a pizza shop called Mary Jane's. Great pizza, best in Beaver County. Well, now they moved to, I think, to West Virginia, Chester there, in that area. But unfortunately, it's a little harder to get to them to get the pizza, but really good. But they were in the book, so they signed off. I had Advantage Chiropractor. It's in Beaver. So if you're coming from Bridgewater or coming from Rochester, it's right at the beginning of town there. Advantage Chiropractor's in it.
You know, this is really great because you're promoting local businesses. They're in the book.
Yes.
So you're promoting, and you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to have those businesses linked in the bottom. So if you're interested, you can check out their websites and addresses and all. But like you said about the pizza place, there's a bit of nostalgia. Yeah, because I remember that pizza shop and how good it was. There's a bit of it creates a bit of nostalgia. Right. Do you harness that in your
the nostalgia's there. Real quick, a couple other businesses I would like to mention.
Sure.
Black Ship Grooming Company, that actually plays a pivotal part in this book. In fact, you know, the owner of Black Ship Grooming Company, one of his the character that is involved in that in the book is actually, it's a little bit like the guy that owns it. Okay. You know, so a lot of that character is inspired by that particular person who actually is the owner of a Black Ship Grooming Company. So he's a good character in this book, you come to find. Yes, nostalgia is laced through this book. It is like everywhere, all over. So this hero, every hero, every superhero, every guy that knows what he's doing, or a woman that knows what she's doing, they have the ability to kick butt and take names and fight. Well, yeah, this guy has the skill. This guy trains. Incidentally, he trains at Berendo One Strike Karate Shotokan, right? But he trains and he gets himself in really good shape. And when this hits the fan, he is actually able to use his ability to fight. But the thing that he has that most heroes don't have, he has the ability to go to nostalgic places and places of calmness.
And that helps him.
It helps
all
him.
These.
So, for instance, in the book, if you're reading something where maybe something's coming at him and attacking him, trying to bite him till he dies. He takes their head off, or he does some other carnage to prevent himself from dying. In the midst of that, he starts thinking about nostalgic things. He starts thinking about when he was a kid, and he lived in Beaver County, and there used to be a place called Fisher's Big Wheel. For that kid, for that hero, that was the best place in the world to get a toy. He was like, oh, I love going there. There was toys everywhere. It was like the best toy store for him. Yeah, he goes to places of nostalgia. He thinks about movies. He's a big movie fan, and you can see that this hero loves movies. He'll compare it to what he's seen. Like, that reminds me of the movie Terminator. Or that reminds me of the movie Die Hard. Whatever movie he talks about, it kind of intertwines with what's being written on the pages, and you start to read it.
Wow. So that's so fascinating. So tell me a little bit about the title, Dead Adrenaline. What does that mean?
Well, when you read that, Dead Adrenaline, it does stand out here. I'll show it up close one more time. Boom, it pops on the book, right? Well, that particular title, here's the funny thing is, when people write books, right? I know you're a writer, for instance, but when people write books, a lot of times they don't come up with the title until after the book is written. Or if they come up with the title as they're writing the book, they're like, this would be a great name for it. For me, I had the title before I had anything else. When I started, to think about, I need to write something here. I got this story in my head. I want to tell it. I think it would be great on the pages. I said, and I'm going to call it Dead Adrenaline. And I already had the concept of this is going to have a Walking Dead flair to it. It's going to have a science fiction flair to it. Time travel's in this book. It's going to have all those elements that make for a really interesting book, or a movie for that matter. But I said, okay, why would I call it Dead Adrenaline? Well, just so happens there's humans in this book that somehow change. And, if you're a human that hasn't changed, you're looking at that particular human that has changed, and you're saying, maybe they're alive, maybe they're dead. I just don't know. But man, are they aggressive. They have major adrenaline, but they look dead. Hence, Dead Adrenaline.
That's awesome. So, the hero, the man called Clint, how is he not infected? How does he stay away from this whatever's happening? And
right. Well, for those of the people that have bought the book and read the book, and the ones that haven't, I don't want to spoil it too much,
okay.
But I'll say this, he's able to navigate for a couple of the reasons I've mentioned already. One, he has ability to defend himself, not only with his hands and feet. He tries to prevent from going to the ground, because if you go to the ground, you're going to get bit. The typical going to the ground trying to choke somebody out is not going to work in the zombie apocalypse or the DA apocalypse.
I think it would be called lunch.
Yes, you would get chomped on. You just would. It's not going to work.
Right.
Sorry, it's not. But he has that ability, where he's able to think on his feet, move fast, strike, hit, boom, boom, boom. He finds out a way that there's a certain way to kill these things, and with his ability, that helps him. Now, here's the thing. But also what saves him, not that he doesn't take it serious, but he kind of goes to a place of calmness. And if you were watching him do this, if you could actually physically see him do this, you would be like, that guy's crazy. Why is he talking about this in the midst of this tragic thing that's going on? He's making comments, or he's saying this, or he's thinking this. You're going to think he's crazy. It's kind of like Kevin Costner in Dances with Wolves,
okay,
where the Indians said, let's not mess with that guy. He's crazy. Yes.
Yes. Good. Yes. And because he's so skilled, I would imagine that you have a lot of different types of action that are going on.
Yes,
in the book.
there's tons of action, martial art action. But here's the thing: the techniques that are in this book, if you're a martial artist, you're going to love it. You're going to grab hold of it. If you're a non-martial artist, you're going to say, this is really cool because it's explained enough that you understand it. Because some of the terms are in Japanese, but they're also in English, so you understand what they are. So it's going to captivate you.
So that's a good point. I just wanted to pause you right there. You give the Japanese word, but then you also give the English meaning.
Yes.
Because sometimes people will just give the Japanese word and say, oh, everybody understands it, but maybe they don't, right? So by doing that, it's really good.
Well, and let me just say this, at least for the man called Clint, the techniques that are used in the writing for this book, in the martial art techniques, they're actually real techniques, techniques that could work in a defensive situation or attack situation. that could be applied. So that's kind of cool for the guys that are martial artists and the ladies that are martial artists. They'll love it. They'll eat it up because they'll be like, yeah, that's actually a technique that could really be utilized, especially in a situation that's set up in the writing.
Good. So I love the ending, and we're not going to spoil it here, but the ending was just great. And I wanted to ask, is that the end? Is the story over?
Right.
Or do we continue? Is it part 2?
Well, I'll say this. I'll give a little advance notice to people that actually bought the book or people who are thinking about buying the book. There is a second book.
Awesome.
And the second book is called Time Break Expedition, The Return, Dead Adrenaline 2.
Oh, nice title.
And the way it's set up is it actually picks up right where the first book ends. And let me just say this ending in the first book will lock you in, you will be totally into it, and you won't feel like you got like gypped, you know? Like remember when you watched Lord of the Rings and they stopped where they were looking over the mountainside and the sun, whatever it was, and it was like, that's a dumb place to end it, you know? At least let them, you know, say hi to the dragon, you know? They didn't get a chance, right? So in this book, it ends in a way where, yeah, it's a cliffhanger, but then it's like, whoa, it kind of sealed up everything that needed to be sealed up in this first edition, this first, you know, basically episode of this Dead Adrenaline series. And so the second book grabs hold of that, and you'll feel like, okay, it's just a continuation now. But yet this first book ended really well, but it sets you up. Like I've had people that have bought the book and read the book and reviewed the book, you know, gave their opinion on the book, and I have the majority of the people saying, when's the next book? And I'm like, guess what? That next book is around the corner now. I'm just about completed with the actual finalization of the actual story.
And do you continue with local businesses and local personalities and things like that?
Yes. So, which is really cool. So, I'll give a little fun fact about the second book. There are businesses in it, and I'll just mention some of the businesses real quick. The Coffee Beanery up in Center Township, kind of Monaca Center. It's right there off of Brodhead Road, Old Brodhead Road, actually. That's one of the businesses in it. I have the Little Green Bookstore, Zelienople, Pennsylvania, the one that's where the book's for sale. Yeah. That is in the book. Even though it's not Beaver County, it sets up the story.
Did they get attacked?
I can't really tell you, you know. But you got to buy the book.
Yes, you do.
So
find out.
So what's great about it is I have like a business like that. I have a couple other ones, and you know, when that book comes up, we can talk about those if you decide to have me back on your show.
You'll be back, absolutely.
But one of the biggest ones, in my opinion, that is gonna blow a lot of people away in Beaver County, especially because it is one of the greatest radio stations we have in Beaver County. Beaver County Radio.
Oh, yeah, I subscribe to them. Yes, yeah.
A lot of great hosts on that show. Really, I've been on their show numerous times.
Right up here.
Yeah, he'll have it up there. That's great. But I've been on their shows, on a couple of their talk shows. Lady by the name of Valerie, I was on her show. I've been on Mike Romai's show a couple times. Another guy that I'd like to mention because it's kind of cool, Eddie Crow.
Yes.
You know Eddie Crow. Everybody knows Eddie Crow. Yeah, Beaver County Radio. Well, Eddie Crow is actually a character in the book is inspired by Eddie Crow, but it's actually his name is used, and it is Eddie Crow. It's him. You know, he gave me permission to put him in the book and tie him into the storyline, and he plays a massive role in this. When people read this, their mind's gonna be blown.
So and he wants to be in the book.
He wants to be in the book. Yes.
That's awesome.
He wants to be in the book, and he's on board. And I appreciate it, Eddie. If you watch this or you're somehow somebody tells you about it. But yeah, I'm just about done with the book, and I just have to touch base with a few things, and once I get it done, yes, he'll be in the book. It'll be good. It's going to be really cool what you see happen.
So we're going to put the links for those interviews down below. I personally was always a fan of Mike Romai, the live Mike.
Yes.
I liked it. I really enjoyed him during the early years when he would battle it out with Fred Hansberger on the radio. Those were very enjoyable shows.
Yes, it was.
And you had a nice interview with him.
Yes.
So we'll have that link so you guys can see it.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Mike Romai, Valerie, I interviewed with her, and
Yeah,
Val, they call her.
another.
She's really good, and Eddie Crow. You know, Eddie Crow.
That's great.
I'm.
I feel honored to be part of the interview. You know, of course, I'm on the bottom rung here, but to be part of that
Right.
group, that's a really
Well, when the
something.
second book gets released, Eddie Crow said I can come on his show. He gave me permission to come back. Yeah,
Okay.
he said definitely come back, and it'll be a really cool show.
Oh, like
sure.
that. Yeah. So it sounds to me like you've got radio personalities, businesses, you got location, like it's setting it up for a movie. I see movie in the future.
Yeah.
For this.
You know, that's funny you said that, and I've said this before in past interviews. I wrote this book because, you know, as a kid growing up, I always was intrigued by. I love movies. I do. I love writing and I love movies. You know, but movies was my first love, and I always said, oh, it'd be so cool to make a movie. You know, and a movie like what this book is would be even cooler. Well, I'm here to tell you, this is the book. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it, Grant. If you don't care, I'm gonna say it. And anybody that's interested in having a great screenplay, if they want to take this book, we can work together. This book here would make a great movie, Netflix, or even somebody that's not one of the bigger companies. This book here, if you would read it, you would say, you know what? It has all the elements, episode after episode after episode, or a full-blown movie, you know, 2-hour movie or whatever. It has the elements. And if you read the book, you'll see that. Because when you read it, it feels like you're watching a movie to a certain extent. And the reason I think this, or the reason I believe this, is because I've had people say to me, I read the book, and at times I thought, man, it feels like I'm in the book.
I agree. That's a good comment. Yes, because that's exactly how I felt when I read it. It's like you're part of the adventure.
Right. And did you do this? And I don't know if you did, and I've been told this. They read the book, and it's an easy read. You can read this. If you're a fast reader, you'll knock this out in no time. If you're one that reads, you know, a couple chapters a night, not bad. Great for the beach, you know, great for, you know, well, if we had a really cold winter, it would be great for the winter months, right? But did you feel this way after you read it? You start thinking about a particular thing in the book that you read, like as if you watched the movie and you start thinking about that scene, and you're like, wow, that was a really cool scene. Well, that was a really good thing I read. It kind of brings you back. You have like a flashback of what you just read or what you would watch in a movie.
Yes.
Did you feel that way?
So, yes, I did. And the other thing was that, you know, I'm a bit of a history buff. And I read the Lewis and Clark journals of their adventures from St. Louis to the West and back. And what I liked about your book is that it was written in that same type of format where it's a journal style. And so you're living each day with the hero because he's putting, you know, pen to paper and he's writing down what's happening. And so to me, that was for me like a huge hook that sucked me in, because it's like, holy cow, okay, he made it through day one. What's going to happen? He's going to wake up in the middle of the night with zombies all over him, or, you know, it was very, that to me was a good part of it.
there was many, and the ladies love this book for whatever reason. They read it like you would think, you know, whatever reason, they read the book, and I've had a couple comments. Some of them I know, some of them I don't. They were like, yeah, I started reading and I couldn't put it down. I wanted to find out what the next chapter was. The next chapter, the next chapter. You know, some of them are binge, you know, readers, I guess, like a binge watcher.
But no, because I think that because in the way you write it, you don't, the reader doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Because it's going this way and then boom, it goes that way.
Yes, and you don't know. And it really does. It really does, like, kind of, because it builds. And you get deeper and deeper, and it just builds, the tension builds. So, yeah, I can absolutely see that.
And you mentioned Lewis and Clark, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny about it, you know, Lewis and Clark. On this particular book, the editing wasn't, I didn't go crazy on it. I wanted it to be like, if this was a guy writing a journal, and they could take those words and, you know, put it in a fashion where people could read it, it wouldn't be perfect.
Right.
There might be a comma missing, maybe a misspelled word. You know, maybe this should be this way. Maybe the sentence is a run-on. Maybe it isn't. I did that intentionally.
Well, and you hit it perfectly, because anyone who's read like Lewis and Clark journals knows that when you are writing a journal, it's all over the place. You're getting your thoughts onto the paper, and that's the important part. That's what I felt with this. The hero was telling us how it was like to live in this time.
Yes. And I will say this, the second book, Time Break Expedition, The Return, Dead Adrenaline 2. that book, there's going to be editing.
We're gonna flash that up here too as soon as it's ready. Well,
so
no,
for the people that are like masters of reading, you know, there might be some people that read this book and be like, oh, I don't like it. But it's not. You read it, it's totally fine. You'll be like, oh, this is great. But the second book, I'm taking a little more time with having it edited and such.
Now, not to put pressure on you, but do you have a guesstimate of when you think it'll be ready?
Well, see, we're into March here, so. You know, if all things, you know, go well and I keep on the path, you know, because sometimes you got to live your life and work and do other things besides writing. If all things go according to plan, hopefully in the next month and a half to 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
the
goal.
Hold you to that.
That's the goal. Okay. Yeah.
So in May 15th, hello, is your book ready?
Right,
I promise you I won't. But
well, let me just say this, and I'll say this not to interrupt you, Grant.
Yeah.
This is a book you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah, yes it is.
Yes, most definitely.
So,
let me say this, Count Vlad on your show,
yes.
He could sink his teeth into this.
We may have to ask him to do an interview with you.
That might be great.
And we'll see. So I did have, and now it kind of slipped my mind. I did have one last question for you. Oh yes, I came. So when you're writing, like when do you you work a full-time job? When do you find time to write, and why do you do it? I mean, do you find pleasure? Do you what is this motivation to get you to?
So I enjoy the writing of the story. You know, obviously, you know, after you get the story done, the formatting and stuff. You know, if you're going through Amazon, you do that all yourself, or you can get somebody to do. But I did it myself. You know, it's a good way to save money, I guess, right? So that's probably the most sickening part. But as far as the story writing, I enjoy it. It's fun. To me, it's relaxing. It's therapeutic, I guess. As far as how I write it, you know, and I got a family, got Kim, got Chloe, my daughter, and Luke, you know, my son, and you know, keeps your life busy, and I'm working and stuff. But I'm one of those guys, and my wife even says it. Kim, she says, "Man, you sit there and you're punching away on your." I do it on my iPad, believe it or not, which is crazy. Huh? I'm just
wow.
It's an iPad world, I guess. Huh? That's what I do. I don't do it on a desktop or anything like that. I actually type it out on my iPad. But I can do it with the TV on, my son sitting there, my stuff going around me. You know, I can lock my brain into what I need to do, but still focus on what's around me. And I have moments where I do that. Then I have moments where nobody's around and I really solidify what I wrote, go over it and find out what I need to add or what take away. Does this make sense? Does this tie into this? Is this not going to work? You know, this doesn't line up with the ending. None of it makes sense. You know. I know it's fiction, so you can pretty much write what you want, but you want the person reading it to go, wow, this is really cool how it's connecting. And so I have those moments where I'm, doing it like that.
Apple, I hope you heard that. 100% written on the iPad.
That is true. Yeah,
so,
Dead Adrenaline.
Let's get some sponsorship over here.
Yes,
right,
on the iPad. You want to send me a free iPad to continue the work? I can do it.
Yes, we'll take it.
Yes.
So, that's awesome. Yes. I find personally, when I write, I love getting involved in the story. I love getting involved with the characters.
Right.
And so what I find is that while I'll have an outline of where I want a story to go, I also allow the characters to kind of direct me and guide me along in the story. So I'll get times of inspiration where I'll think, oh yeah, they need that, and I go nuts.
It's kind of like a song. If you're writing a song, hey, that's a good.
Yes.
Got to write it down.
Yeah. When they get that inspiration, and it's really, to me, I find it to be, like you said, it's relaxing. If I have a day off, I'm going to be doing some writing because that to me is pleasure.
Well, we're talking about the process of writing. Everybody has their way, right? Like somebody that's an actor, they have a process of acting. Process of making a movie, process of writing something. Some people have a process on how they read it. They might read a whole bunch of it. They might read a page a day. Here's the thing. Do you remember the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas? It was the guy that wrote Charles Dickens. It was a story about him.
Okay.
And
right.
It was a really good movie. I really liked how they captured how his writing style was. As truthful as the movie could be. As far as we know, right? But his whole process was he got to the point where he's writing and he actually sees the character before him. They think he's crazy, right? Or nobody knows it, but he's talking to them.
Yes.
And I kind of do that. I visualize my characters around me, especially when I'm by myself. writing. Like, you know, The Man Called Clint, he's able to do this. And then I visualize the Hive Queen, which is a tremendous evil woman, you know.
But I find her hot.
Yeah. Yeah, she's kind of hot in a zombie way, you know.
You have to buy the book to see her picture,
Right.
and then you'll laugh and
Yeah,
enjoy
she's-
what I say.
Right.
Enjoy that.
You would find her hot, wouldn't you?
I probably would.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly.
Right? But yeah, so that process does go through my mind where like, and maybe I'm doing it and not even knowing. I'm probably talking out loud, you know, talking to myself,
Mhm.
you know, and that's kind of like what he did in that movie and stuff, you know. And people would hear him and like, what's he doing? You know, who's he talking to? You know, talking it through, you know, and then putting it on paper.
The characters come to life, and anybody who's an
Yes.
author knows this. Your characters
Right.
really do take on a personality of their own. Agatha Christie would say that the character Poirot, the detective, she said she couldn't control him after a period of time. He
Oh,
just
yeah?
just took over everything, and she had no
Ah,
control. So
interesting.
so
That
good.
is, that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Really appreciate you
I
sitting down
appreciate
with
you
me.
letting me be on a book you can sink your teeth into.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is an up-and-coming podcast. I know you have numerous episodes out, and I'm just honored to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and thank you. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you,
So-
because on the past episodes, you talked about my book.
Yes, I did.
And then you happened to be in, you know, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You came down and saw me at the dojo, and I appreciate it, sir.
Oh.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, pleasure. All right. So thank you all very much, and we will see you again soon. Cheers.
Dead Adrenaline.